Hello, I'm Maria Womack, and this is Fake Therapy, a safe space where friends just talk and listen. This episode is blessed by the presence of writer-comedian Justin Butler. We decided to talk about our experiences dealing with being super sad and feelings of depression in hopes that someone out there feeling so lonely could possibly find some comfort in it. Not saying I have a horrible life, I don't. I have friends, I have family, I get to live with these certain privileges, but I do on occasion experience feelings of feeling so blue that I don't know what to do with myself. All I know is how many tears and how much heartache this war in my mind has caused me. How hard it is when what's in my head is suddenly my whole reality and no one can convince me differently. It's so hard and so uncomfortable trying to get yourself to the other side of feeling okay sometimes. If you do feel like you're struggling internally to this degree, all I can really do is encourage you to reach out for help and tell you that I don't want you to feel like you have to struggle alone. People in your life need to know how you're feeling. You're not a burden, because more people probably care about you than you remember. You are loved, and I love you. I'm telling that to you, and I'm also telling that to myself. Thanks for listening. I've actually known you for a while.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I remember knowing like of you and being around, but we never really like hung out.
I know. We have a bunch of mutual friends, and I feel like I've known you since like high school.
Yeah. Bay County, small area.
Shout out Mosley High School.
Yeah. Love ya. Had a great time.
Yeah. You were emo back then.
I was. No beard, hair down to here. Baby blue Ninja Turtle shirts, under oath belt that I wore every single day of high school.
That's how I remember you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I saw you around, but you're a little older than me too.
Yeah. I just turned 30, so
that's okay. You're a young buck still.
Hey, these eyes still glisten.
But yeah, I just think that's so funny. Like, I feel like we should be friends. We should be hanging out. I mean, we have all these mutual friends. I feel like you're still a little emo a little bit, which I like.
You never grow out of it, really. It's a part of you, and you just have to accept it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like coming back in tune with more of my emo parts, and I feel way more comfortable.
It's experiencing a renaissance. I don't know why, but everyone seems to be like slowly getting back into it. I'm just like,
I know, it's like a trend now.
Bring it back.
Yeah, I have real things to bring to the table.
Yeah. So I really think the first time we actually spent any significant amount of time together is when we did that 24-hour film challenge.
Yeah. I feel like that was the first time I was like, hey, I'm Maria.
Yeah.
And you're
like I've known you for like a decade, but
I know. I feel like I used to be so weird though about like, I know you and I know you know me, but like maybe they don't know me, so let me just not say anything.
Yeah. It's easier to not make friends than it is to make friends by far.
But I remember when you were like in drama club, shining like a star.
Aww.
And like you've been in bands and stuff too, right?
Yeah. A lot of Christian metalcore bands.
Is that what that was?
Shout out Action League Now. And I had like one indie band called the Swell Fellas. We played like 2 shows at the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Those were the days, man. But yeah, as far as I know, and I don't know if they still are, but like 5 years ago, right before Hurricane Michael, I was at the mall, and these high schoolers came up to me and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're the guy in the announcements," and I was like,
like
what?
From high school.
And apparently they're still using like my old video packages, or they were for a while, which made me feel really good, but also like emo me is just still out there
I know.
on TV. It's weird.
Like no one could do it better, so they're like, we're gonna have to use this guy because he's the best.
I did crush it. There was one time I did a detention video, and I made it a Saw parody because there was like no detention rules. And so after it aired, I'm sitting in the TV production class, and I get called to the principal's office. And I'm like, oh fuck, what have I done? I ended up just getting thanked for it, but I was so nervous because like it airs, everyone is sitting in silence. There's like didn't get the laughs that I was expecting, so it's just like, oh, I done goofed, and then like it turns out everybody liked it, which was super surprising. So shout out DTV, rest in peace, Mr. Wishart. I loved you.
Cool.
Good
Yeah.
dude.
I wish I did stuff like that. I don't know why. I was just way more shy then.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I like now that I could have done then, but I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, me too. You said when I was in drama, shining like a star. I didn't get on stage really, except for improv. I loved doing improv, but I didn't do any shows until college. I was way too nervous, Still am really, but you learn how to shove it down.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
I've seen you in Side Splitters too.
Yes.
Really funny.
I miss it. Team, if you are listening, let's get it going again. I really miss it.
Come on.
Improv's great. It's a good way to learn how to like deal with just your shit in general. It really teaches you how to adapt on the fly. So it's an art form that it's very close to my heart. Same with stand up.
Yeah, I was about to say you do stand up comedy too.
Yeah, I do it all, baby.
You really do. You're proactive. As long as I've been watching you. Not watching you, but I have been admiring you from afar, even though we're not close. And you've always been in really cool projects, and I think that's great.
Thank you, and you are killing it with this.
You don't have to say that.
No, you are. I reached out to you. You didn't reach out to me, so that says something. So
yeah. Well, thank
work.
you. I'll take the compliment. For what it's worth.
Everyone needs a creative outlet, and what better way than the magical world of podcasting?
Yeah. Any outlet to, I guess, deal with your shit or something to find happiness in a crazy world.
Yeah. So find your bliss, people, especially right now. Like the world is so like shitty at the moment. Just find one thing.
Jeez, Justin.
Hey, man. I'm just speaking the truth.
That's basically what I just said.
Yeah. Find your just one little thing and try to do something for yourself every single day. That's what I have learned, and that's what's kept me sane for the last 5-6 years of my life.
Yeah, especially as an adult, it gets really hard.
Yeah. Turning 30, it's been good and bad for me because of course, like you have that little freak out, like, oh, my 20s are over, but at the same time, it's like put things in perspective. I'm like, okay, so like now my decisions matter, and I've learned what's kind of important to me and what isn't, so I'm able to like parse it out a little better. It's been interesting.
I'm 27.
Oh, you're fine. You still got that. You are in the
I'm in my late 20s now, though. I just had that this year.
You're in the first year of your late 20s, so you're
really?
Like, yeah.
26 doesn't count? That's mid?
Yeah, so like, okay, here's how it breaks down. When you're 20, you're 20. 21 to 23, early. 24 to 26, mid. 27 to 29, late.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that, though,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so you're like, you just started your late 20s. You got plenty of time.
I guess.
And really, like, 30's meaningless. It might as well still be your 20s. I'm telling myself.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do admire you. I think you have some awesome projects and you put out awesome content.
Thank you.
And you're funny. You seem very happy and lively and fun to be around.
Oh.
Which makes it surprising but not surprising that today's topic on Fake Therapy is depression. Bummer.
Yes.
Not bummer, though. It shouldn't have to be a bummer. Like we should be able to talk about it and find clues and find traits of it so we can recognize and regulate our emotions a little bit better and just kind of know what's what.
Yeah, I think being in the internet era that we are in now, that is one of the best things that's come out of it is people have been more open about their mental health, and the discussion is no longer like a hush-hush topic. It's everybody has something that they're dealing with now, and the fact that it's actually being treated and talked about in a way that it never has throughout all of human history is amazing. And I really do think that's because the internet has brought people together as much as it tears them apart.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just like,
It's
oversharing.
interesting.
Oversharing leads to a slippery slope of good and bad things.
Yeah, I'm
So-
definitely an oversharer.
oh
Or
God,
sometimes
yeah.
I'm like, should I have said that? Or do people hate me because I said that?
Yeah, why do you think I like being on stage so much? Because I'm just like, it's art. I'm not saying anything weird. It's all art.
Yeah, right. This is just a fabricated
Yeah, yeah,
personality.
yeah.
Wink, wink.
This isn't me. Don't take anything I say seriously. Please do.
Same here. We'll take
Validate
it
me,
with a
please.
grain of salt. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that like people are talking about it more. I noticed that too. More lately, like the last few years. And I don't know if it's just being older, but I feel like I notice younger kids talking about it too.
Yeah, well, I think that that's just the nature of the generation before being more open about it. Why should they feel shame? Like they're seeing other people talk about it. So as they're growing up and recognizing these feelings earlier in their lives, that is only a positive thing because then you're able to get help if you're willing to ask for it, which is a big thing. We'll get to that.
Oh my God, yeah.
But you're able to get help earlier, and you don't have to suffer as long, and that's a beautiful thing, really.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, let's take it back real far back.
Okay.
Do you remember, like, as a kid, ever feeling like you felt depression before?
I was a pretty bubbly kid, but yeah, there was always that little nugget of sadness that sat there. You never really know why you're feeling it, and and retrospect as you go through and you start like piecing together events of your life that you may not have really thought about before. You're like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that's what caused that. This is what happened. But I don't remember feeling like I don't think it really hit me till middle school, which surprise, surprise, like hormones raging. Of course, like that's when something
Angst.
like it's gonna trigger. But I struggled with it quite a bit through grade school, like middle to high school, and I didn't really do anything about it until college, just because I didn't know what was going on. I thought like
Yeah, you
I was like,
didn't
oh, okay, I'm
know.
a teenager. I'm super sad. That's what teenagers are supposed to be. And then one day I was like, oh no, I'm extra sad.
Yeah, I have moments like that too.
Yeah.
When I was in the fifth grade, that was my introduction to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very sheltered child, kind of, but my mom let me get on the internet. She thought she was kind of monitoring what I was doing, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I also was very sneaky because I was so sheltered. I was like, there are these things I want to do, want to learn about, have exposure to, but like my mom is like treating me like a child because I am a child.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I don't want to be treated like a child. Always, even when I was supposed to be treated that way. But maybe she was a little extra.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had like a lot of resentment towards my mom too when I was younger because I felt like, especially around like fifth grade and getting into middle school, I was kind of turning into that angsty person. And I was like kind of rebelling a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I felt like such animosity from my mom all the time. So it sucked. Anyway, so I'm going on the internet and I go on this, like, I eventually find this social network website where I like create this profile and I like, so, okay, in fifth grade, I was like not very comfortable with myself, okay?
Okay.
I was like, I don't know, everyone is like skinny and blonde and I'm like ethnic and wondering why I look so different, but not knowing that's why.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm also just like, no guys like me, and I'm just like not popular. So I go on this website and I get this girl's pictures that I knew who was like a taller, skinny, blonde, popular girl. I stole so many of her pictures,
Oh, wow.
said that was me, and created this whole second life that I told people that I was like this high school girl and I was like a cheerleader, but actually I was like kind of emo and I
Yeah.
like didn't fit in with the cheerleaders. I told people that my mom like committed suicide.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like I created this second life with a different name and like my pictures were different. I was pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, I was like, damn, I was like depressed, right? Because you don't just do that
No.
if you're happy with your life.
I mean, and just I can't even. I am a very average white guy, and I had that's the childhood that I have. So the struggles of a young woman of color, I cannot even begin to imagine. But like, it's hard for like young girls in general with body image issues. I can only imagine with growing up because did you grow up in Bay County? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine growing up in that area and having that extra layer to deal with. So eh, like yeah, absolutely depressed, unhinged behavior, but like it tracks. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure you're not the only one who dealt with stuff like that. But
Unhinged behavior, exactly.
yeah.
And I was on the internet all the time, like every second I was home. I was obsessed with the computer because it was like escapism.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had the internet growing up. I remember a time before I had internet. But we had a computer in the house from the time I was like 6 onward, and then when I was 13, my parents put a high speed computer in my room. Um, I'm sorry for the things I did to that computer. It didn't deserve.
What'd you do? Oh my
You're a
God.
13-year-old boy with high speed internet.
Oh, I see.
What do you think happened?
Oh, I see.
That's how I learned how to reformat computers because virus.
Oh yeah, he was fixing viruses.
Yeah. But that exposure to that world really, I don't know if it was a good or bad effect on my depression until I got a little older because it was like just the wild west when you were a child because just unfettered access to everything.
Yeah,
was-
especially when we were kids. Like people were spewing slurs like the R word, F word, like G word.
The way we would just casually throw all of those around, and then there was
Yeah,
like
it's so toxic. It's horrible.
there's like one, and it was later than it needed to happen. Probably like 2012. Everyone was like, "Oh, we should probably stop all of this," and then some of us did.
I feel I was
Some
gonna
of us
say
didn't.
in 2012, people were thinking maybe we should stop.
Yeah.
God.
We're still turning that corner, everybody.
But that's harsh. That's so harsh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can't imagine being talked to that way. Well, yeah, I can imagine because I lived through it. But like being okay during that, like how could you not be so sad?
Yeah, middle school especially. I went to. I'm not going to drop the names of any more schools, but I went to a different middle school, way out in the middle of nowhere, basically. And the rate with which I was called the F slur every single day was astounding.
What?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, talk about middle school a little bit more. Like, what was that state of depression like for you when you were that age? Not knowing exactly what it was.
It's the first time you start really like coming to grips with like what your emotions actually are, and you start really kind of putting things into perspective. And sixth grade was really basically like elementary school 2.0. I was just kind of like feeling things out, like seeing where it goes. But seventh grade, that's where I completely changed. I went from having like little dorky glasses and spiked up hair to like I was like contacts, long hair, like super into like the heavy music and shit. And
Yeah.
that's when it kind of that first wave hit me. I remember one day there was some stuff going on. Someone, a young person in my family had passed away, and it was like a few months after, and I was just like thinking about that, which got me thinking about mortality as a seventh grader. And then that just kind of led me down a spiral that made me think of like other things in my childhood, like some of the more traumatic events. And there was just one day in seventh grade, I just out of nowhere, I seemed fine all day, and it just hit me, and I just like collapsed crying in the hallway.
Oh my God.
That was one of 2 times I had to go see the school's on-hand therapist.
What was that like?
Weird
Yeah.
because they're dealing with somebody that's so young, and in a setting that's like it's an educational setting. There's only so much they can talk about unless they think, and I don't know how this actually works. This is just my read on it. Unless they think that you're like in danger at home, there's only so much they're like allowed to like
Really?
talk to you about.
So you
I
felt like
think
it
that's
was,
what
like,
it felt
filtered?
like. I felt like I was there because I was obligated to be there, not like the school was covering their ass, not like there for me. And that could have just been like, I was a shitty middle school kid. That could have just been like my cynical
you
read on it at the
weren't.
time. But
You're valid. Was it a guy or a girl that you talked to, the counselor?
it was a woman.
What
Yeah.
were do you remember anything that the lady said?
Not really, because the 2 times that it happened, it was almost like coming out of a fugue state. Almost like I had such brain fog that I was just kind of sitting there giving basic responses because I wanted to leave. So it's very muddy. I can describe the room better than I can
Oh,
like
wow.
remember what she said because I was just so
Like zoned out.
yeah
Like, this is bullshit. Stop talking.
yeah it was weird. And then I did fairly okay through the rest of middle school, and then high school I didn't really have any like big episodes, but that's when more of the traditional symptoms set in. Like I had insomnia, but was tired all the time, and
I get that more
just
now.
no energy. And just because I didn't want to feel like I was missing out on anything, I would force myself to like go hang out with friends or stuff. But I was
And
always
just mask it.
yeah, and that's why I tend to zone out. Even today, that's just a coping mechanism I developed. Is it's like okay, I'm gonna go out, and then whenever the energy levels are running low for me to keep that mask up, I just start like spacing out, and it's something that happens to me to this day. Sometimes on stage, which is not great. But if you've seen me at the open mics, every Wednesday, Library St. Andrews.
Nice.
You'll see me just like disassociate for a second and then bring it back. I tend to be good when I'm like, especially if it's like a show that someone like booked me on, and especially if I'm like getting paid for it or the audience paid tickets to get in, I can kind of like rein it in. But if it's just me up there experimenting, I will drift off. And you can ask Brian, my partner with Red Light Switch. Sometimes when we're writing, I will just like drift because it's like I'm thinking of the project, and then just like, and then it'll come back. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But it takes so much bravery, seriously, and strength to keep going and keep doing that. Even if you do have a moment of being zoned out, like, who cares? Let me
Yeah.
have this zone out break. Who cares? Like, you consistently are doing stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, I don't know. We were talking about consistency earlier, and I didn't do this podcast for like a straight year because I was like, I need to focus on my life.
Yeah. And you have to be we there's such a grind mentality with everyone now,
Yeah.
and I get it. Like you want to work as hard as you can to be as successful at what you're doing, but you also have to realize that we are still people who only have so much fuel, and the amount of fuel people has varies from person to person. You gotta learn how to cut yourself some slack, which is something I am just now learning a little bit. A part of the depression is you have to find different ways to find self worth other than within yourself, because you feel like you yourself are not enough to like get there to like feel self actualized. So I was really bad at like. If I was not constantly performing or putting out content or writing or like actively working on something, I felt like trash. Just like, what are you even doing here? And that's something you have to try to outgrow. And it's rough. It's a rough one. Workaholism is really real, and it's just I don't know.
Would you say that something that triggers maybe a depressive state is just taking a break? Is that a trigger for you?
I have a hard time relaxing.
Seems like
I really do. It's a problem. Because I don't carry myself like a high strung person.
No,
I'm
you don't.
I'm not when it comes to other people, but I do not let myself like I don't give myself a chance to breathe, because if I do, I start like that's when things start to take a turn mentally for me. So I have to work myself until I'm so tired that I can't anymore. And that's
Just
not really
distractions.
yeah, and that really ends up being like I'll get some good work done, but eventually you hit diminishing returns because you're running yourself ragged, and you're no good like just trying to squeeze more out of the sponge that is your brain when it's completely fried. So you gotta learn how to take breaks, and I'm slowly learning that one. Maybe when I'm 50, I'll have it.
I feel
have it
that too,
mastered.
though. I feel guilt over not doing stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'll take the break, but I will feel guilty and I'll be like, what am I even like here for? Like, I don't have a purpose and I feel like shit. I start to get depressed, and it's like a self-worth thing. Yeah. It
Yeah.
sucks to question your self-worth because it does kind of go downhill from there.
You know, I have so many things about myself that I know. I have a really good support system, and they're always there to like gas me up. And I love you guys. You know who you are. Um, and it's great. But just anytime I have a moment alone and I'm not working on anything, it's like, oh, uh, everything you're doing sucks. You look like shit.
You look
Wha-
like shit. I
yeah.
have that too, but we don't look like shit though.
No.
Like when I'm in my right state of mind, I'm like, you are not ugly,
Yeah.
bitch. What are you talking about? We're not ugly. We're like good-looking people.
I
Like,
go-
why
I
should
go
we
from-
feel that way.
I go from feeling myself to feeling like a goblin. Like any given second of the day can be a different, different thing.
I have actually wondered if I have traits of being bipolar because I feel those like highs and lows.
Mhm.
For about looks, for example, I will feel like super high, super confident because I'm getting all this validation that's very superficial though.
Yeah.
And then if it's like a break in that, I'm like, oh, like nobody gives a shit anymore. So sometimes I feel like if I'm not constantly getting that, that I just fall into this like state of being like, oh, don't you remember you're not even 5 feet, girl? What are you talking about? You're like this little potato girl. What are you talking about? So it's very extreme sometimes where I look in the mirror and I'm like, I truly don't even know what I look like. I have
Yeah.
no clue.
So I'm glad I'm not the only one who's dealing with that, because the amount of time I will have to leave a room sometimes. I'm like disassociating from my own being so hard that I will go just look in the mirror to be like, okay, this is what you are. Okay, this is like, because my self-image is so distorted.
Yeah, me
I have a
too.
hard time remembering. You being upset about your height. That's like such a fucked up thing to have to like worry about, because there's literally nothing you can do about that, and it's not
No.
something that anyone else thinks of, but just the way we
They-
internalize like.
No, but they do think about it. Because sometimes I'm in a room and people will bring it up so much where I'm like, okay, I like make people feel uncomfortable. That I'm like what am I, like a circus freak? Like you have to bring it up. It's
Really?
always that, or like, oh, like, what's your ethnicity? Not to bring it back to that too much, but those are my two things where like, oh, I make people feel uncomfortable because they always have to bring something like that up.
I think people just they get a little too comfortable, a little too quick making
they're
jokes.
overly comfortable.
Because like if my friends are giving me shit, the ethnicity is a whole other thing. Like no one should be. That's something that no one really should be messing with. But just height and other physical features like that. If my friends are like messing with me with it, I know they're like meanwhile. They're just like giving me shit. But like if I'm like out
Of
somewhere
course.
at a party or at a show, audience members can be the worst about this sometimes. They're just like, oh yeah, here's this really specific thing about you. I'm just like,
Really?
thanks.
Like what?
I don't even know. It just my energy. Sometimes I've had audience members comment on my like weird mannerisms. I have gotten the, oh, you're shorter than you looked on stage, like blah blah blah. I'm just like, you could have just said thanks for the show, had a good time, or even if you didn't have a good time, just come up to me like, hey, I think your material sucks. Like that's fine. Just the weird comments on like my body and how I move. I don't know. You like that?
Yeah. It's so funny, and maybe you could relate to this too. Like things that I love to do are like they all involve me putting myself out there to be judged.
Yes.
Which it's like I don't know how I got into that, but it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, I put myself out there to be judged, so it is what it is. I can take it, but sometimes there's those things that can be said that really like throw me off the fucking edge for a while. And it is short-lived. All of my depressive states are very short-lived and I'm back again, but it's like a roller coaster sometimes.
I think we do that because obviously I do the same thing. I'm just like, okay, I don't like how I perceive myself, so let me throw myself into every possible situation where like other people can perceive me.
Is that what it is?
And I think we do it. Well, one, we're both creative people, so that's just nature of the beast. But I think it's also for me a little bit. I can't speak for both of us. I do it as like therapy to seek like validation through like what other people think about me.
Me too.
But the minute
Me
that
too.
backfires, I feel like trash for days, and then you have to relearn like to get back out there. It's all part of the game.
Yeah.
But
You
no,
care what people think about you?
a little too much sometimes. I like to. That's another thing I'm working on. I'm trying to on the whole journey of having self worth or whatever, is to learn how to like find fulfillment within myself and not so much on the perceptions of others. But I have trained myself so much to like crave that feedback,
Me
and
too.
it's not healthy.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. And it's like, I don't know what to do about it because I'm already in it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm ever going to get out. I just have to be comfortable with it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do every time I set foot on stage. I'm just like, okay, I'm doing this. Like I'm doing this to entertain people, but I love it because it's something that makes me feel good too. Sorry, too.
Yeah.
And learning that should be more of what it's about than how I am being received, because I am not making my art for the approval for other people. I am doing it because it makes me feel good, and I need to focus more on that. Because right now, if the focus is over here on just what can I do to make myself look good for these people, then I'm not really being true to
Not being
myself
genuine,
creatively.
yeah.
And that's why anyone who's seen me do any new material, that's why material's gotten real weird.
Has it?
I'm basically relearning how to write, especially with stand up, like with scripts and everything. I'm just like honing the skills that I've already had, but stand up, I'm relearning who I am as a performer in that capacity, because I used to do just like broad jokes that were kind of like this is gonna make everybody laugh, blah blah blah. Now I'm just like I'm getting really personal with it because it's
Okay.
making me feel better.
I like that though.
Yeah.
I really do like that. And I feel like when people don't do that, that your audience craves that from you.
Yeah, yeah, because I think I hit a wall with as far as I can go with who I used to be as a performer, and that's just I think every artist goes through that. You have to be true to who you are. I cannot talk. Be true to who you are now, and let go of what you think people are expecting from you. Because really, the only thing people are expecting from you is to continue to create. So never stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Just like live your life, make your art. If your joke sucks, if your painting sucks, you can write a new one, you can paint a new one. But you know what? You still have something to put on the shelf to say, hey, look at this thing that I did. I am a badass.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the self-deprecation, something that I do have, and I think every creative person probably does have that a little bit in the corner of their head. I feel like sometimes, this is toxic, I think, that I'm happy that I have it because it drives me to be better.
Yeah.
But in the process, it's very hurtful and it's very self-sabotaging.
Yeah. Well, there's a way to do it. If you create something and you go back and you look at it, and if it's coming from a place of like, oh, okay, I see what I did here. This is how I can strengthen it next time. If you are teaching yourself as you're going, that self-criticism can be a good thing. The thing is, with me, and it sounds like maybe you too, it's not like, oh, okay, here's the steps I can take to like improve this next time. It's like, no, why did I even do this? Shouldn't have put this out here.
Yeah.
Suck. Bleh.
Yeah.
There's a healthy balance, but that pendulum can swing real heavy in the wrong direction really easy. So we both gotta get better at that.
Yeah. When you said like hitting a wall creatively, like what do you think are the events that lead up to that?
That is something that is hard to track. Because sometimes it's something I feel like coming and I'm trying to like beat my head against the wall and like break through it. And then sometimes it's like hits me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh, okay, I can't carry on like this anymore. I don't feel the way I used to feel. And I do think there could be a number of reasons for it. Just you become a different person as you get older. But bringing it back around to our topic, it big shifts in who I am creatively have happened 3 different times in my life, and they happen to correspond with like the 3 biggest depressive episodes I've had. It really like it's like something changes in your brain chemically.
Yeah.
And
Can you
it
talk
makes
about that a little more?
yeah. So the first one, going back chronological order, the first one was after high school, when I was in college and I moved away.
Where'd you go?
Orlando.
Oh.
I was at UCF for a little bit, trying to do film school. Ended up changing majors like 3 times, and then I dropped out. Oops.
I went to 2 college classes and never went back, so
Oh,
you
oh,
don't
yeah.
have to explain yourself to me.
I wish I would have just done 2 classes and dipped rather than spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I hated it there. Yeah. Which made me feel bad about myself because I want to be an educated person.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway.
So I loved it at first. I was there for just shy of 2 years, and like I loved it at first. You know, I felt free. Like I was out of my hometown, like living with my friends, and it was great. But eventually, the reality of like, okay, I'm an adult now, started setting in, and I couldn't make up a decision on what direction I wanted my life to go, and couldn't really hold a job because I was still. When you're in college, you're still basically a kid, like learning how to be an adult. You're just kind of fumbling around. I
Totally.
couldn't really keep a job because I was more focused on like being dumb with my friends, drinking a little too much, and eventually it all just started like weighing down on me. And I had just like I just broke down one day, and it just sat with me for months until I started looking for jobs back home just so I needed to get out of there. And that's something that even my roommates didn't know I was going through until like years later, because I kept it pretty private because I never wanted to feel like I was burdening anybody.
I'm really bad about that too. And I feel a lot of pressure to be the strong one a lot of the
Yeah.
time, that I have to just like cover it up. And then years later, I'm like, yeah, I was like actually really depressed out of my mind like 3 years ago. And they're like, what?
It's so weird
That's why
because
you were acting crazy?
you're just like I need to be here for everyone, but if anyone is here for me, then I'm bothering them. Like it's
Yeah. Or
gotta
I just
learn to
have
give and
trouble
take.
talking about myself sometimes.
Yeah. I'm just like I'll figure it out. Don't make me don't make me express anything, please. And so I came back to Bay County and kind of shook myself out of it there. And then I was kind of okay for a while, and then everything with Hurricane Michael happened, and that kind of like blew everything up that I had like built up for myself. Like coming out of that depressive episode, that's when I started doing stand up, and like in
Okay.
that gap, that's when Brian and I started Red Light Switch, and like we started doing very very good, and then and I was still struggling. Brian is a very, very patient, patient business partner and creative partner, because there were times that I know he wanted to strangle me, but I was like, I don't have the energy to do what we're supposed to be doing right now. Like I am losing it, and he was always firm but patient, which I think is a
Nice
good
balance.
descriptor of Brian to a degree. He's listening to this right here, like shaking his head, like, I'll kill you.
And I'll
But
help.
but then Hurricane Michael happened, and it blew everything up, and I just kind of felt like, okay, everything I built since I've been here is gone now, and so that led me down a little bit of a dark road where I was just kind of like drifting. One of those times where you're just kind of existing. Then we moved here for a little bit, and once again, things were starting to go well. We hit on a series of bad luck. Without going too much into it, we moved here. Our apartment flooded 5 times. We moved into a house.
Oh my God.
9 days after we moved into that house, Hurricane Sally flooded it up to like my shins.
my
So we
God.
moved back into an apartment, and then we had more plumbing issues that flooded it in that apartment. And then this is all going on while COVID's going on, and I lost my grandfather in this time.
I heard
and
about that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. He's we're slowly becoming okay with that. that's all you can do. Pick yourself up, dust off. So I'm actually, all of that happened, and then my, without getting too much into it, my relationship for 6 years ended, and so I was just kind of at this point a couple months ago where it's just like, oh, here it is again, my old friend, massive depression episode, and I am just now really, and that's why I wanted to do the show. Is after you put your episode out and you're like, hey, do you have some shit to talk about? I was like, boy, do I. I'm just now kind of like waking up from it, and but still got a long way to go. But I'm starting to dive back into the things I love again, which is something. When you go through a massive depressive episode, and I don't know if this happens for you, I lose interest in everything.
Yeah.
I didn't even play like video games or anything for like months. If I had time alone, which I avoided like the plague, I try to like not be alone with my own thoughts. Thank you, friends, for being very patient with me and spending time with me. If you have to like learn how to be yourself again and like find joy in the things that make you happy, but for some reason, just when you're going through that, anything that reminds you of yourself, like it disgusts you or disinterests you, because you don't really like. It's hard to even explain. Like, I was more interested in just like staring at the ceiling, trying not to feel anything, than I was like trying to make myself happy, which is not the best coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But that's just how it feels. So like, and when I say I'm just now coming out of it, I mean like I am like a week of starting to feel okay again. So like everything's still super fresh, and I want everyone listening to know that it is okay to go through times like that, like, because you hit that cycle where you're just kicking your own ass so hard, because you're like, okay, you've been sad long enough, like you gotta start doing it again, but you don't feel like it, so then you just end up arguing with yourself, which causes you to spiral more, which makes your disassociation with yourself even worse. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, you got to learn how to like cut yourself a break and breathe and figure out who you are as a person. And maybe coming out on the other side of it, there's things that you used to love that you don't anymore, but don't see that as, oh, this is something that was big in my life that it's gone now. Just learn to get excited about what the next thing is. Just like figure it out. It's growing is an adventure. And you should be excited for it. And I know our brains are these evil, angry little bastards.
Yeah.
But you will come out on the other side of it. And I don't want people to think that I'm saying that in a way that's just like, oh, like find a new hobby, like exercise.
Go outside.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Just like go on a hike. That's not what I'm saying.
I know that you don't mean that though.
And if it's really bad for you, please, for the love of God, go talk to somebody, be it therapy, be it a doctor, to get medication for it. Like, no one wants to ask for help, and there's multiple reasons for it. Maybe they don't want to admit that the problem is as bad as it is. Maybe they don't want to seem weak, whatever it is, whatever the bullshit reason your brain is giving you, because it's become addicted to that cycle. Please ask for help. Go get it. Personally, I try to deal with it through art and therapy. I tried medication. There were some unfortunate side effects to that medication.
Really?
And people on antidepressants know what's up.
I think I've heard some things.
Yeah. It's gross. Let's not talk about it.
Okay. That's
if you know, you know.
But therapy has been a good experience for you?
I think so.
That's good.
It feels good. And a lot of the times, the therapists I have worked with, they're really good at making me like talk myself into like my own breakthroughs. I'm just like, you bastards, how dare you? How dare you? But no, I do recommend it, and I know it's like getting medication is hard because a lot of people don't have health insurance right now because we live in America.
I don't.
And therapy can be expensive. So if you don't have traditional routes to get help, just and you're fortunate enough to have a good support system, just don't be afraid to go to your friends, or if you're close with your family. Um, you If they're really people that you need in your life, they're not going to view helping you out or giving you a shoulder to cry on, or their ear. They're not going to view that as a burden. Like, people care about you, and it's about time we realized it. Damn it.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to reckon with, because when you're going through this, and you have really bad depression, you feel like people at best tolerate you.
I have felt that way.
Yeah, yeah, and it sucks. It's a shitty thing, but then you realize, like, oh no, these people have like stuck around. Like, they're here for me. I need to not be afraid to let them be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When I'm feeling really depressed, it's funny that you say, well, it's not funny. It's something that some people do, that you like surround yourself with friends and you're like, oh, I need to be around people. I'm an isolator.
Mm-hmm.
So I isolate myself. I stay home more. I'm almost feeling too in my head like, oh, I don't want to put myself around my friends until I'm my more fun, positive self, or else I'm just going to be a drag. I'm going to be a bummer. I'm going to possibly lash out and someone's going to think I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
So let me like stay in my own little like cubby and hibernate for a little bit and like get myself out of this, which sucks too, because like you said, you should be asking for help. People care about you. I know that I have great friends that care about me.
Yeah.
And I could go to them and that they would, support me and stuff. As far as family goes, though, like my family's never really talked about emotions like that.
Yeah.
So that's hard for me, especially like when I was younger, going through things that were hard on my mental state. I've never talked about that to my parents because I've never heard them talk about it.
Yeah.
So, and there are things that I've seen them do and say and like through their behavior that now I'm like, oh, like you were probably not having the best time mentally. I wish that we could have talked about that. And maybe we can when we're older. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that more people are talking about it now, I guess.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky with my parents specifically. Like, my extended family, both sides are notorious for like, nothing's really going wrong. No one talks about anything. Like, just shove it down, shove it down. Let's all get together and have food and pretend like there are no problems. Like, let it go. My parents, especially when I became an adult, we're pretty open about everything. I really lucked out on that end. Which then again, that's something I struggled with, because I've seen like some of the households my friends or like other family members come from, and like as far as their living situation at home and who their family is, they have it so much worse than I do. So then your brain, when you're dealing with depression and like complaining to them, you're just like, what right do you have? Like, you got so lucky, but that's not it. That's not how that works at all.
No.
But no, I got pretty fortunate with my parents, almost to a fault. They know everything that goes on with me, and sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm telling on myself.
I haven't gotten to that part of my relationship with my family, but I'm hoping that, I think it's up to me though. I think because of all that, I have resentment and I am closed off and I keep away. I mean, I'll go to Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, but I'm not one of those people that is like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my mom and we're like having this girl talk and we're like, giggling, you know? Like, it's getting a lot better just recently. Like, this last Thanksgiving, I had the best Thanksgiving ever. And we had some like more intimate talks that were like more real. Yeah. Which made me feel better, Yeah,
it's good.
I need to give it a second chance.
Yeah, for sure. You should. And I know, again, it's not everybody. Everybody isn't like in that situation where they can begin to open up. But if you think that opportunity is there, I say take it, because you do have to realize that your parents are they're people. Like, that's it, and they're allowed to fuck up. Unfortunately, sometimes they fuck up, and you're a child, and you like can't deal with like the fact that happened. But we're all just people, and we all have shit to deal with. And it was nice to know that with everything that I go through mentally, that I'm not the only one like in my house that has dealt
So
with that
they
from
have
time to
talked to
time.
you and said like, "Oh, I've dealt with depression too."
Yeah.
You've heard that?
Yep. Yep.
That's
Which was
great.
that was very reassuring.
Yeah, it just makes you feel like you're not the only one. Because when
Yeah.
you feel like you're the only one, because no one's talking about it, you feel like you're crazy. You feel like a burden, like you said. You
Hmm.
feel like, why am I here? And it's like, oh, I just hate myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. God, too real. Too real.
Yeah, it is. It is way too real.
I
It just sucks that people feel like they have to go through it alone.
Yeah, and that's why going back, me and this table.
It'll be okay.
uh, Going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, I think that's why it's only a positive thing that it is being talked about more and accepted more because uh, we want people to know that they're not alone out here. We're all grasping at straws trying to figure out like what a life is, and the less alone you feel in that, like the more we're going to be able to help each other out and get some real work and discovery done. Just people, despite being connected as ever, still have the tendency to just feel so isolated and lonely because of what's going on in their head. And it only can get better if we admit that we're all dealing with it and start helping each other out. That's the key.
Do you think every person in the world has experienced this?
Uh, I think everyone in the world has dealt like everyone's dealt with trauma. Everyone's dealt with things. The difference is um, some people like everyone experiences sadness. That's part of life. Depression is its own thing. It's a mental illness.
And it
It's a
looks different
disease.
for every person.
Yeah. But I do think if everyone could afford it, I would say everyone should go to at least one session of therapy, and just get yourself checked out, because the more people are coming forward with it, the more that you're like, okay, this isn't just like a few people. It's not like people being crazy. This is just a part of life, and we need to deal with it the same way we deal with physical diseases. We just need to make it easier to get access to treatment, and easier for people to have somebody to talk through everything with, because it is such a big part of our lives, more so than we thought 20, 30 years ago. So I don't think everyone has it. There's that meme that I've seen a few times where it's like a doctor asks somebody if they've had any depression or anxiety, and the person says, "Yeah, doesn't everyone?" The doctor says, "No." So I don't think it's everybody. Like people being, you hear the word neurotypical a
Yeah.
lot now, which is good. I'm glad we have like terms for these things now.
Yeah.
It's
Me too.
really helps us define what's going on. So not everyone has it chemically, but I think everyone goes through it emotionally from time to time, just because life is like it's hard. It's hard, and figuring out who you are as a person is hard. Some more so than others, but like uh, life's tough, and so these feelings of loss and confusion and self-identity issues are something that everyone at least like touches on at some point. But for some people, it is, myself included, it is a chemical thing. So
I don't know about me. I'm not sure.
yeah, you said you never like put yourself out there to
I
get
gotta get
like
checked out.
yeah. Again, and that's another thing. It's hard to do because like if you don't have health insurance, it's like, hey, let me go spend hundreds of dollars to tell the doctor that I'm sad. Like for most people, that doesn't
Yeah.
seem practical.
I'm scared I won't click with the person. I'm scared I'm gonna spend all this money and be like, why the fuck did I do that? Scared. I'm just scared, really. I think it just comes from fear. Because
Yeah.
I should go. I tell everybody that they should go, and I'm just like not doing it. And I want to be a good example too. And I could be better at that, I think.
Yeah.
I would be the first one in my entire family that has ever gone to therapy.
Start a trend, get
I
it
know.
going.
I would love to break that mold. That'd be really cool, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really good, and I've been to I had three major breakdowns. I went to three different rounds of therapy, and I also went to a specialist. I can't remember what kind of doctor he was. I mean, he's some form of psychologist. Anyway, not important. I went to three rounds of therapy with different therapists, and then one extra thing, and that's how I got my. He did a bunch of tests. It wasn't really so much therapy. That's how I got the
Test.
ADHD diagnosis.
Oh, really? What are the tests like? Like a pencil paper test, or they just ask you
Yeah,
questions?
it was like half an IQ test, just like seeing where I was like functionally.
Okay.
Because something we didn't even get into. I went to physical and operational therapy like in elementary school too. I'm just fucked up. um, so he was like testing where all of that was as an adult, and I passed with flying colors. But then
Good for you.
he did some ADD and ADHD tests, and boy, those ADHD tests did I fail
Oh,
hard.
really?
Yeah,
Fail as in you are
yeah.
ADHD, right? Okay.
One of them. The one that I remember the most is he sat there, and I had like a clicker, and there was like something would flash on the screen. Every time it flashed, I would like have to hit it, but the intervals were random, and sometimes they were like really long, and so I would zone out and miss them, or if I thought they would coming, I would just like hit the button, like
Yeah, you're anticipating
yeah,
it.
and
So
yeah,
interesting.
I failed that hard, and there was a few other things like that he was just like, okay, yeah, I going to that session and then getting the results, uh, and then him giving me him giving me pamphlets to give to my girlfriend. That's like, hey, here's what it's like to live with a guy with
Oh,
ADHD. And I was
really?
just like,
Oh, shit.
oh god, I'm so fucked up. They had to give me literature. Like, I had to pass out business
You have
cards
to,
being like, hi, I'm a problem. Hi, I'm a problem.
this is how to deal with me. Here you go, and here you go. Oh
Oh
my
boy.
goodness. But I think that's so healthy of you to put yourself out there and get these diagnoses because, or else you would just be like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then it would just lead into you feeling really bad about yourself, feeling like you're a freak and that you just have all these problems with no names
Well,
and no solutions.
yeah, for sure. I hit a point that I'm lucky to have hit it because a lot of people don't. A lot of people just carry it around with them for their entire lives. But I hit a point to where I was like, I know I am not okay. I want to be, and that realization is like it sounds obvious. Like everyone wants to be okay, right? But like to really internalize it and actually like, okay, I need to be proactive in getting there. That realization that hit me in my 20s,
Yeah.
like my mid 20s, that hit me. I was like, oh, I actually want to take steps to be okay. And so I started everything. I was just like, any outlet I could get to try to like figure out what was going on with me. I started chasing down, and fortunately, at that point in my life, I was at a position where I could do that because I had a job where I had health insurance and I had like a little bit of money, so I could afford to go get that help. And we keep circling back to it. That's not an option for everybody. And throwing money at the problem, like throwing money at your mental health, is never the solution. But unfortunately,
It's what it takes sometimes, though. Yeah. So
you
it's
have to,
like,
because if a doctor is seeing you for free in a back alley somewhere, don't trust the diagnosis nor the medicine they give
yeah.
you.
But if you are privileged enough to have that, take full
Oh
advantage
yeah,
of
yeah,
it, you
yeah.
know?
Use the resources you have, and that's actually a good way to sum up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like if your resources are only a couple of friends that you can talk to and be honest with, use it. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like you cannot do this alone. No one can. The journey is yours to go on, but you need hands to hold to like get you through, guide you through that darkness a little bit. Like it is your darkness to deal with. I like the phrase, "Mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility." I like that.
Ooh.
I like that a
Oh my
lot.
God, yeah. Because
Um,
or else you're putting it on other people all of a
yeah,
sudden
yeah.
in a way where you're like lashing out, not putting it on other people like you're trying to have a conversation, but you are maybe yelling at people or you're like turning into this horrible person. You start getting physically aggressive with people because you don't know how to regulate your emotions. And you don't know how to recognize. Like, how do you know if you're okay or not?
And even you have those moments where you are acting, you're in such a state where you're basically reacting on instinct, and you do something harmful, or you do something that like embarrasses you, and then when you get home and you're away from the situation, you're like, why did I do that? That's not me at all. And you're like, oh, it's because I'm spiraling, and I've done nothing to try and stop that. Like, and it could be as simple as like taking a break to leave a situation, or just taking a pause and being like, hey guys, maybe we need to like change the subject or something. You It's just weird. Sometimes you get so lost in your own head that it's not even you anymore. It is just instinct and sadness taking control. And sadness, unfortunately, can manifest as anger or any other given negative emotion, just because you don't know, you're so lost, you don't really know what is in control of you at that moment, you know?
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say, like, for example, this is not me speaking, but someone that's like, oh, my father put a lot of trauma on me, but I had to learn the trauma that was put on him, and then the trauma that was put on his dad, and then his dad, and his dad.
Yeah.
You know, that it's just a never ending cycle unless you kind of get it back into gear and break the cycle.
Yeah, about to break it. That's the key part of it, is breaking the cycle, because like it is healthy to realize, especially with family things, like, yeah, that there can be some pain and some issues that are just like reverberating down. But if it's a situation to where you are mentally or physically abusing like someone else, like that's never your generational trauma is not an excuse for
That's
you.
your responsibility.
Yeah. Break that cycle, and it's good to realize that if someone is doing that to you, like, okay, yeah, you understand where it's coming from, but you get yourself out of that situation. Like, it is just because you realize, oh, okay, I see where their pain is coming from, that doesn't make it okay that they are hurting you out of it. So you gotta be there for people, but also be safe. There's only so much you can do if that person is not willing to reckon with themselves.
Yeah. But get checked out before it comes to that, before that's you know?
Yes. Please don't try to do it by yourself. That's, if you take one thing away from this podcast episode, is go talk to a friend, see a doctor if you can, do something, stop carrying your burdens around, because you will buckle under that weight eventually, and it's not going to be pretty when you do.
In your most recent depressive episode, what made you think that you're not okay? Like, how'd you know?
It's such a hard thing to like pinpoint down.
Well, what's going through your head? Do you remember any specific thoughts you had?
This time around, the self-worth, self-image issue was hit really, really hard. I felt like I was at best a burden on the people that cared about me, and at worst just an absolute trash person, and couldn't stand to like look myself in the mirror. I like hated my self-image, and it had been building for so long that it had kind of like snuffed out my creativity for a while. So I was like, I wasn't creating anything. So I was like, what the fuck are you even doing here? You don't, sorry, I don't know how much we're on the show.
No, I totally know what you're talking about. I felt that exact same way.
And it's just a void where my entire personality should be. It felt like my entire body was one like open wound that anything would just set off. Like, it was like poking a nerve ending anytime I had to interact with anybody. And I felt sad and angry at myself, and lost to the degree, like I said, I wasn't doing things that I loved doing. I wasn't trying to create anything. I would just, if I was not trying to distract myself by like being out and being social and just like being on, like trying to make everybody laugh and like spinning my wheels to the point of exhaustion. If
Yeah.
I
Sounds
just
exhausting.
I just would lay in bed and stare at the ceiling and just try not to feel anything, because if I let myself feel something, it was going to be painful. And oh yeah, sorry, it's so
No,
recent that I'm just like,
don't be
ugh.
sorry. Don't be sorry.
uh,
You don't have to be sorry at all. Like, it's very a real feeling,
yeah.
and that's why we're talking about it.
So it and really, other than eventually what my friends had been telling me the entire time, that I would like try to talk to them about what was going on, what they were telling me slowly started to like click for me, and that's what's started pulling me out. And when that started clicking, that's when I was like, okay, I can get in front of people again. So I started started going out to perform again, and eventually, piece by piece by piece, I started rebuilding myself. And it's not fully complete yet, but the puzzle is at such a state I can tell what the picture is.
Wow. I feel like that's a huge step.
Yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I hope nothing happens to where a wind blows and knocks the pieces down again anytime. I would like to see the image for a while before that happens again. Universe, please. But the thing is, as I'm getting older, I realize like if that does happen, there are people in my life that can help me pick up those pieces. I don't have to do the whole thing by myself, and that's been probably out of all three of my giant meltdowns. It's been the biggest realization I've had so far, and it makes sense. I'm getting older. I've been dealing with this for decades at this point, and just learning how to be okay and accepting that there are times that I'm not going to be. It doesn't have to be a dramatic meltdown. As much as I love me some drama, does not have to be a dramatic
Let's
meltdown.
normalize meltdowns.
Yes.
Yes, okay?
Next social media.
You
trend.
don't always have to be okay, and you're not always going to be okay.
Hashtag go feral.
Go feral. I love that.
But no, just realizing that, because you hear the same shit over and over again. We were talking about mental health, and we've repeated a lot of it here. But actually letting it stick, like, no, these people they care about you. They are here to help you. Let them. And that's been a big breakthrough for me, because it's not as obvious as it sounds to get there. So.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, though, with everyone talking about depression and trying to bring awareness, a lot of things that can get lost into it are people who may glamorize it.
Yes. Oh, that's a whole other thing. It is not like.
And it takes away from people who are really struggling, I think.
No, absolutely. And I'm not saying don't if you're struggling, I'm not saying don't like put it out there, don't use it to like fuel your art. Like that's one thing, but it's something I'm tired of hearing, being involved in comedy especially, is you hear these people like, oh, like you have to be depressed to be a good comedian, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so like it creates this culture of people like trying to make themselves feel some type of way because they have some bullshit picture of like, this is what I have to do to like create this art. I'm just like, no, hey, how about everyone like gets themselves stable, and if you're funny, you're funny. Like,
Yeah.
let's be stable, please God.
I've heard that too, that depression makes good artists.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sucks.
No, and don't get me wrong, depressed people make great art, but it is
A
not
lot of times
because
they
it's not because they are depressed. It's because they're a talented person. I don't know why it's become such a thing, and it's like Kurt Cobain is the famous example. Like at one point, everybody who was in high school in a band like idolized that guy to some degree, and it's like, oh, if I'm like real sad and things are hard for me, I'm gonna create good art. It's like,
and
no,
he was a troubled man.
Yeah.
His life was fucking hard.
And he was like, yes, that fueled the art, but he is not a good artist because of that.
Right.
You can do whatever you set your mind to if you work hard enough at it. Your emotional state, if you keep it negative all of the time is going to have a negative effect on it. It is not. Depression is not a sweater that you can put on because it's pretty. It is.
Yeah.
It is a. It is a series of chains that you want to unlock and break free from. It is not. It is not something you just put on whenever you want to feel cool or artistic. Like it.
And I also
hate
don't
it.
want the glamorization of that to prevent people from getting help because they're like, oh, I'd rather stay this sad, depressed being because it helps my image in
Yeah.
this weird, fucked up way. That's weird.
Yeah,
Super weird.
there's that thing of people saying they don't want to take medication for depression or any other like mental illness because they're like, oh, it'll like change my brain, then I won't be myself. I was like, no, you will. You'll just be you without all of the
Chaos?
Yes, without anything weighing you down. You will be yourself, but like your full actualized self. And it, again, the medication route's not for everybody, but that I've heard people say they don't want to go to therapy either because they want to work it out through their craft, and I'm just like, you are actually insane.
It's a tough road, buddy. It's a very tough road.
Good luck with that. I hope you change your mind, because
I might be doing that accidentally, though.
I mean it's
Holy shit.
everybody does.
Like literally what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But I think I am more recently practicing the vulnerability and that these are steps getting me into that therapist room,
Yeah.
as how I'm liking to think about it.
You're playing a dangerous game because like you're
I
gonna show
am.
up to therapy, you're gonna like bring your microphones and be like, no,
Do you mind if I record this?
This is about me and my show.
Yeah, no. Oh, fuck. No. I'm corny as fuck if I do that shit. No, I can't do that.
Anytime they start getting close to a breakthrough with you, you're like, no, but what about you?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, they would not let me put a camera in there, would they?
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I mean,
Did you ever hear that thing about Katy Perry whenever she live streamed her therapy session? She did that. And I think a lot of people saw it as like cringy. And I think it's cringy too.
It's super cringy because at that point,
That's the glamorization I
yeah,
think coming in.
you're showing it as because there's no way she's being 100% honest in that session at that point because she's got like this public image, and so it reads to me like someone being like, oh, look at me, I'm so vulnerable, look at me in therapy, like blah blah blah, and you're not doing any real work in there, you're not getting to the bottom of anything in there. Then again, I could be wrong, maybe she was completely, I'm never gonna watch it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Saw some clips that were enough.
Maybe she was completely honest in there and she's just like that chill with her audience being inside her head. So it's hard to judge, but what it reads, just hearing about it is very icky. I don't like it.
Yeah. I'm fighting all the time to not be like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to bring awareness and, like I said, practice being vulnerable because I was so closed off for such a long time.
Yeah.
That this is like a practice for me.
Yeah. Well, what I like about you and this show is this is two people having a conversation about like something real. You're not putting on a guise of like, oh, we're gonna get down to, we're gonna solve all of the answers, blah blah blah.
Yeah. You will
like,
leave with no trauma.
Yeah.
What if
Again,
I said that?
like we said before, just order my book for these 12 steps to cure.
Oh my god,
depression.
yeah.
No.
I make no money from this, okay?
Yeah.
So everybody knows, okay?
It's just what you're doing is you're giving a platform for real people to really open up in a way that is, I'm sure it's good for you, getting to talk about all of this and like seeing how you're basically getting to hold a mirror up to yourself with these conversations. And for me and your other guests, it's nice to just to get it out there in a situation that feels safe in here. And for me, I'm hoping that by talking about this through all of the rambling that I'm doing, I have a hard time talking about myself, through all the rambling I've been doing, I'm hoping someone listening takes something from it and really starts getting the help that they've been too afraid to ask for, or at the very least, like have a realization that they need to be a little nicer to themselves, because your brain's not going to do it. You have to like take an active active part in getting yourself there. So I love you, audience, and I want you to be okay. That's why I did this.
I love my audience too. And this may be like a personality character defect, but I feel like one of my favorite ways to bond with somebody is not like, oh, like we like the same football team, or oh, like what kind of music do you like? What kind of TV shows, movies do you like? I kind of hate those questions of like getting to know people
Yeah.
completely, but I would love, oh, you had a breakdown? Me too.
Yeah, let's
Let's talk about that.
Small talk is so difficult.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Let me just like know who you are in your brain. I don't care that you like Star Wars.
Yeah, no offense.
like it's cool. Like, I like Star Wars too, but that is not going to be the basis of our friendship.
Yeah, exactly. What can we take away from talking about depression? I mean, it's such a sad. It's seen as like a sad, dreary thing. Some people are like, I don't want to talk about depression, or I don't even want to think about it. I don't want those thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
But like, what can we get from talking about it?
I think like we've said several times now, just like breaking the stigma of it being like a shameful thing that only a few people go through. It's like, no, everybody in some form deals with some form of depression, be it clinical or just like you're having a rough go, and it's a way to let people know that it is okay to have these feelings, and it is okay to ask for help, and it's just breaking that stigma. Talk about all of it, all of your mental stuff. Just let it go, because it does no good to bottle anything up. And if you're dealing with anything, not even just depression, anything, if you're dealing with addiction, just it hurts, but you need to put it out there, because it's the only way you're gonna heal from it at all. So just talking about it is being honest with who you are and letting people know who you are, dropping all of those like facades that we put on for everybody, and that's where the real beauty in being human is. I think is like really getting to connect and know people, and we can't do that if we're just constantly hiding ourselves and our struggles. So it's really talking about it does everything, really. There's no real downside. So yeah, I'm rambling like crazy.
No, you're not.
I have so many thoughts that are getting like bottlenecked. But yeah, only good can come from talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like talking about it is one of the first steps to kind of looking at yourself and being like, am I okay? Mm-hmm. Do I need to get help? Okay, now I'm gonna go get the help.
Yes.
And also, too, like you said, kind of knocking out the shame of it all. And also knowing that, like, when I'm depressed, that it's not anything that's abnormal.
Yeah.
That other people go through it. And I'm in it right now, but I will get out of it. And I'll probably feel depressed again. Actually, I'm 100% guaranteed to be depressed again. Probably 100 to 1,000,000 times in my lifetime, however long that may be. But I will get out of it, and I'll be in it and out of it, in and out of it, and I'll be okay.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think I'll be okay. That's
the being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel is a good point you brought up. Because the first time I had like that massive meltdown, like I was like, oh, is this forever? And then the second time I was like, okay, like I know eventually, it doesn't feel like it, but eventually down the line, I'm going to get there. And then this third time, it was like, okay, I need to figure out how, like, I know I can get out of it. I just have to find my way there. And sometimes it's just time. It just takes time. But knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel is something that comes from everyone talking about it. Because if you're going through it and you hear, okay, I went through it, but so did my friend, and they're doing great now. You wouldn't know that if everyone was keeping it inside.
Yeah, so you only see the good part, and you're like, why am I not feeling that good? Because that's all I see is someone doing good? Like I said, I'm seeing you do all this awesome stuff from like improv to like stand-up comedy and all this film stuff. And I'm like, wow, he's like doing so good. But little do you know, people like that who look like they're striving are, yes, striving, but, you know, they have their demons too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I will take that as a compliment on my acting
Yeah,
skills.
it is a compliment.
You know, you never know. You never know what anyone is going through. So just like do your best to be a kind person.
And don't downplay people's feelings either.
Oh,
You should
no.
always validate people's feelings. And if your friend tells you that they're depressed, don't hit them with the positivity right away. Okay?
Yeah, no, like it is not your fire to put out. If your friend comes up to you and says, "Hey, like I'm feeling really depressed," all you can do is help give them the tools to put out their own fire. If that makes sense. I'm full of analogies that I don't know if we're working or not, but you can help them, you can be there for them, but at the end of the day, you saying, "You look great. I don't know why you're sad.
Yeah.
You wanna go
not
out
good.
and get a couple of drinks? You wanna go for a walk?" Like that's very nice. I'm not saying don't do those things, but just like don't think that is the end all be all for their problems. Like it's gonna be a process to help people out of this, and you need to accept that you aren't going to be the thing that cures them. You can just be there to like help them
Yeah.
on their journey.
Because obviously they've thought about that. Obviously they want to feel better.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about one of my recent regrets. So I cut hair for a living, and this kid came in to get his hair cut with his dad. And so he sits in my chair, and I was like, "Hey man, how's your day going?" And he's like, "Not good." So I was like, I said something fucking stupid. Like, "That's okay, it'll get better." And then later, the dad was in the lobby. One of his dad's friends from like the kid's school or something comes inside and is like, "Oh, how is blah blah blah?" And he was like, "Oh, she just passed away last night. The kid's grandma passed away. Just passed away last night." And I'm over here telling him it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I heard that and I was like, felt like shit automatically, and I was like, I shouldn't have said that because I didn't know what the kid was going through. I assumed because he's a teenager, I guess, or a kid, that I'm like, oh, he's maybe making a big deal about nothing. Horrible of me to think.
No.
I gave him a free haircut.
Aw, that's very nice. Don't beat yourself up too much over that, because when you're in a situation, especially like when you're at work and someone hits you with like, "I'm not doing good," what else are you supposed to say? Like, "Oh, sucks."
Just say, "I'm sorry to hear that,"
yeah.
I guess. And I will take that with me from now on, and I'll never be like, "It'll be okay."
Yeah.
You know?
Just I'm sorry to hear that, or I hope it gets better.
Yeah.
Like just have a little sympathy. Don't try to solve the problem. But you didn't do anything that's like it's a cringe moment, but it's not anything that anyone else wouldn't have done. It is like it's a natural response to just be like, "Oh well, golly, now it's time to cut your hair."
Do we have to Disney spin every sad moment? Jeez, no, we don't. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I'm so sorry. And that's it. That's all you need to say.
Mm-hmm. Wow. We did solve problems.
we did. Yeah, we did. And it's been a great conversation. Yes. I'm glad that you came over. I'm so happy that you're here and we share this with each other. I still have the same admiration for you as I always have.
I'm not super good at taking compliments, but thank
That's
you.
Okay. But yeah, this has been really great.
Yeah, no, keep doing what you're doing. Big fan of the show. No, I do really think what you're doing here is really cool, and being a part of it now, it's very fulfilling. Come on the show.
Yeah,
you won't regret it.
Thanks, guys, for listening. This has been Justin Butler on Fake Therapy. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you. I'm so awkward at ending it. I don't know.
Me too.
I felt like that.